Welcome back to the Plan Development Workflow video series for F.Connect. In this video, we're going to go over Chapter 9, which is the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Sheets. So topics we're going to cover is going to be creating the SWPPP notes sheets, placing a raster map for the sheets, and then we're also going to create the SWPPP plan. So let's begin. So I've gone ahead and opened up my F.Connect for OpenRose Designer using the icon on my desktop. And I've also gone ahead and opened up my blank file for the work set. So what we want to do is we want to come to our F. tab, and we're going to open our Create File application. For this file, we actually need to switch our discipline from roadway to drainage. And we also need to set our file group to drainage sheet files. So here's our SW3P down at the bottom. And I've got my county set to Wakulla, so we're still good there. And then I'm going to go ahead and create and open this file. All right, and if you noticed on the Create File application, we do have an action being done here. So it's going to go ahead and create a sheet model for me. So I'll go ahead and close this Create File. Now the stormwater pollution prevention plan consists of 3 sheets. So what we want to do now is we want to copy this sheet model a couple times so that we've got our 3 sheets. So I'll come back to the Home tab, and I'm going to open my Models dialog. And I'll just do a right click on my sheet model here and copy. And so I'll just change this one to and I'll also go ahead and create sheet number 3. All right, so now that I'm back on my sheet 1 of the SW3Ps, what I want to do is I want to kick off my link data manager, and I'm going to create a new link. And for the first sheet in here, we've created a sample document for the State Road 61 project. So what I'll do is on my link information, I'll just come over here for the source path to this button right here, select existing file. So we'll go ahead and import that existing file. And you may need to switch your file types down here. I'm just going to do all files because I'm looking for a Word document. So we've got this SW3P SR61. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that one and open. And for these, you want to make sure you set your page spacing to 0. And also turn off that page boundary. So now that I've got that set up, I'm going to click OK. And it might take you just a few seconds to attach that to my cursor because it is a little bit of a bigger file. All right, so now we've got it attached to my cursor. I'm going to snap to the upper left corner of my border here, and then just left click to actually place it into my file. So once I've got it in here, if I need to make any changes, of course, what I would do with LDM is come to my link, do a right click, and open that source. And so then I'll just make my changes here in Word. So but like I said, we've got this one provided for this project. You will have to go through and make your own specific changes based on your individual project needs. So I'll go ahead and close that. And so once we've got that one in there, what we're going to do is we're going to switch to our sheet 2. And for this one, we want to, again, create a link. And this time we'll go and we'll create a new one from template. And all of these templates, we're going to use the Word document for. So I'll switch that to Word document. And we've got our SW3P sheet 2 down here. Click OK. And I'm going to save this one in my drainage folder. And again, page spacing 0, and turn off the page boundary. All right, so now that I've got that attached to my cursor, again, we're going to come and just snap to the upper left corner of that border and left click to place. And if I zoom in on here, you'll see As part of the template, we've got the notes in here just stating that you'll have to, of course, delete this little bit up here. This is just information for you guys, saying that you will have to come through here and update for project-specific stuff. So for the sake of time, we're not going to get into that. Again, to do that, you would just right-click in LDM, open source, and just make your changes in there. Once you finish that, save your Word document, and then you'll just come back to LDM and do an update now on that link. Fit view, and now we'll go to sheet 3, and we'll just go ahead and bring in our third sheet template. Save this one in my drainage folder also. And 0 on the page spacing. And no, we don't want the page boundary. So click OK. Again, it's going to take it a minute or so just to load it. All right, so we've got it attached to my cursor. And one more time, we're going to snap to upper left on my border and left click to place it in the file. So now that we've got that done, that's the end of exercise 9.1. So now we're going to move to 9.2, and we're going to place our raster map in here for the SWPPP as well. So now we're going to continue on sheet 3. And so I'm going to switch back to my home tab. And under my attach tools, I want to grab my Raster Manager. So then what we want to do is we want to go File, Attach, and we want to grab a raster. So for this, we're going to browse to our ROW map folder. And we've got a TIFF file out there that we're going to use. So we'll grab that wakulla.tiff, and I'll click Open. And once the attach options come up, we want to make sure that we change under action. We want to place interactively, so we'll switch that to yes. And under the general section, we also want to set our level to image attachment _DP. And that's just a drafting level, but so we're not using the default level on there. And now that I've got that, I'll click attach. All right, and so now it's waiting for me to just draw the little box on here to place our raster map. So I'll just come up to this blank space right here, and I'll just left click, and I'm just going to draw out my raster and left click again, and now it's got my raster placed in there. And so that's exercise 9.2. So now we'll move on to 9.3, which is going to be actually creating the SW3P plan. So I'll go ahead and close my Raster Manager. And for this, we're actually going to create a new file. So I'll come back to FDOT and create file. And so we're going to create another SW3P. So this will be our plan sheet. And so I'll go ahead and close that. All right, so now that we've got our SW3P02 created, I'll just go ahead and switch to my design model. So once we're in our default model, we want to switch back to the Home tab, and we're going to go ahead and add a few design files. So let me attach reference. And I'm going to grab my pond file. And I also want to grab a few roadway files. So I'm going to grab my alignment, my design file, and my right-of-way lines file. All right, so once we've got those added in, I can go ahead and close my references dialog. So I'll just zoom into the pond a little bit, and now we're going to have to do just a little bit of visual cleanup. So open up my level display, and following along in the book on 9-54, step number 4. It says to turn off all levels except for, and then there's a list there. So we want to leave on. And the easiest way would be just to turn them back on. So in the pond, I need my burn PM, pond bottom, and I think that might be it for the ponds file. So now for my alignment, I'll just turn off my construction lines in default. And of course, we'll leave on our center line. So for design, just turn everything off and turn them back on easier. So traffic separator, sidewalks, and our curbs. And then in the right-of-way file, of course, we want to leave on our right-of-way lines. So now that we've got all our references attached, what we want to do is we want to draw in our sediment barrier around our pond right there. So we'll switch to Geometry tab, and I'm going to launch my single offset partial tool. And we want to make sure that we set our feature definition. So mine's already set for me, but this one is located in the linear folder, roadway design, plan profile 2D lines. Under erosion control is where we have our sediment barrier feature. So we'll set that. And we also want to set our offset to -5 feet. Time to lock that. And then for these, we're also going to lock to the start and end of the elements we're going to be copying. So once I've got that set up, I want to select my proposed right-of-way line. And I want to select to the left of it for my -5. And then just left-click through to accept the prompts that we filled out on the dialog there. And we don't want to mirror it. So then I'll just come along the rest of the pond and just copy in my sediment barrier off of that proposed right-of-way line. Can just left-click through to accept all the prompts. And then once we've got that in, what we want to do is just a little bit of cleanup. So we'll just trim those. So we'll switch to our drawing tab. And in the modify group, we have our trim to element tool. So I'm just going to trim this one to my back of sidewalk. And then I will trim these to intersect. And once I've got that cleaned up, what I want to do is I want to just exit that tool. So I want to actually rotate my view. So I'll select my rotate, and we'll just rotate it along our sediment barrier right here. So what we can also do is we'll go ahead and annotate our alignment so that we've got our station information on there so we kind of know about where all this is going on at. So we'll come to drawing production and element annotation. And then I just want to select my center line here. All right, and so once we've got that annotated, what we want to do is we want to actually place this onto our sheet that we created. So, but before we do that, we're going to actually just throw a label on here so we know what this is we're looking at. So we'll switch back to my home tab, and I want to set my level to text miscellaneous. And then from our drawing production tab, what we're going to do is we're going to do place note. And so we want to make sure we set our dimension style. So we're going to do f.note line. And also make sure that the text style here is set to f.small. So then I just do sediment barrier. And I'll just move this out of the way here. And I'll just snap to my sediment barrier and place my label in there. So now what I want to do is I want to set my level to a clip boundary. I'll come back to Home tab, and I'll just hit C to get back towards the top. And we want this clip drawing bound underscore DP. And for this one, we're also going to set our drawing scale to 1:60, just to make sure we get everything that we want on our sheet. So then I'll just zoom out a little bit. And from the Drawing Production tab, we're going to launch our Place Name Boundary tool. And for this one, what we want to do is we want to set our mode to From Drawing Boundary. And the drawing boundary we're going to use is our 11:17 plan only detail. And I also want to make sure I set my detail scale to match my drawing scale. So we'll do 1:60. And then if you'll notice, it's given me just a faint box, which is going to be our sheet border. So then what I want to do is I want to make sure I've got my entire sediment barrier inside my border here. So then I'll just left click to place, and we get our create drawing dialog. And so I'm going to give it a name and just give it SWPPP plan. And with this one, we want to make sure we match our drawing model scale to our detail scale. So I'm going to change that to 1:60. And for the sheet model, it grabs the detail scale, so it sets out automatically. But we also want to make sure under the sheet model section that we select the sheet model that's already been created for us. So I'll switch that from new to our SW3P1. And then I'll click OK to place that on my sheet border. And so then we would just need to turn off that drawing boundary. And this is just a reference now that it's on my sheet. So just a little bit of cleanup I can do. It looks like I'll need to shift it up just a little bit so it's outside of my border down here. So what I'll do is I'll come to my Home tab and my Attach Tools. And I'll just grab this reference, right click, and move. And I'll just come down here to the bottom. And I'll just move it up so that it's out of my sheet border there. So then once I'm done with that, just close my reference dialog. And that is our SW3P plan sheet. And then that also concludes Chapter 9, which is the entirety of the SW3P plans. And thank you for joining me today for this session on the stormwater pollution prevention sheets. The next video in this series will cover Chapter 10, which is our plan sheet annotation and sheet indexing. So again, thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our FDOT training links.